courts.
Oh, what a point to win.
Only on your World of Champions.
This match is brought to you by FedEx and Pepsi, UEFA Champions League official partners.
And so here we are once again. We are gathered in both continuing and concluding the quarterfinals in the UEFA Champions League. As was the case last night, it's 4 teams looking to fight for the right to stay on this road to Budapest. And the one thing to note, though, is that this evening, the teams that are at home did a wonderful job in the first leg in eking out a first leg advantage. Slender, yes, it might be, but it's an advantage nonetheless. And so then, all eyes are on the away teams to see if they do have what it takes to abandon all kinds of anything that's holding them behind, because this is their last chance for them to stay in this Champions League season. As for the first and last time as well, we've got 8 teams turning into 4 going into the semi-finals of the UEFA Champions League. So a very good evening to all of you watching wherever you are from in and around the continent. It is the quarterfinals, the second day's play in the second leg, and tell us all about what we can expect throughout both Munich as well as London. I do have Sean Bartlett. He's alongside Stanton Fredericks as well as Bongani Kumalo. They'll be exploring all the possibilities and probabilities as 8 indeed does become 4. So as was the case last night, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls of the African continent, these right here on your World of Champions are indeed the champions.
Hello everyone, and welcome to a final masquerading as a quarter-final. At least that's the feel that any meeting between these giants of the game brings. Their 29th clash in UEFA competition. Madrid ahead, 13 wins to Bayern's 11. It's through to Kane. Kane returns it. Gnabry, Luis Diaz! Bayern lead! Problem straight away to Lise. Up against Howson, and teeing up Kane, and Kane scores! Dead-eye!
Aggressive start to the second half from Bayern Munich. They step onto Real Madrid, pick the ball off.
He knew where he was going to put it. Here's Trent Alexander-Arnold. Great ball, and Mbappe is there to finish it. Bayern Munich have the advantage, but not in the way it looked like being not all that long ago.
Well, hi there, everyone. Welcome to a high-quality Champions League quarter-final first leg here at Lisbon's José Alvalade Stadium. Sporting, the Portuguese champions, hosting Arsenal, England's Premier League leaders, and arguably the European powerhouse so far this season.
Marita sometimes goes into the right-back position.
It's a ball for Araujo into that sort of position. He's rattled the bar where the right got a touch. He might have done. Martinelli wanting to use this extra 2 minutes. A lovely ball through, and they've got the goal at the end. Kai Havertz, the scorer of big goals in big games, and Mikel Arteta can celebrate. Arsenal going in front in the very nick of time, in added time.
Expectation follows Arsenal pretty much wherever they go these days, and there'll be plenty of that from the fans as they watch on as their Chargers take on Sporting Lisbon. This in the second leg. Arsenal with a 1-0 advantage from the first leg. They'll be looking to either build on that or indeed preserve it. At the very same time, we're at the Football Munich arena in Munich. That is where Bayern are going to be trying to defy a rather ridiculous record at home against Real Madrid in recent years and turn a 2-1 advantage into a semi-final spot in the UEFA Champions League. And of course, we know that these two sides, or these four sides rather, in action this evening, we know whom they'll be coming up against in the semi-finals already. Real Madrid, Bayern, the winner, takes on PSG in the semis, while for Arsenal and Sporting, whoever advances from there has got an Atleti-sized task in the final four. Very good evening once again to all of you watching across the African continent. Luazi Zikubu is my name. And again, I do have Sean Bartlett as well as Bongani Kumalo and Stanton Fredericks with me this evening as we continue and conclude the quarterfinals for the UEFA Champions League 25-26. Before we look ahead then to what lies ahead this evening, let's remind you of some of the breaking news from last.
Don't worry, your TV's not broken. 104 matches. Who would watch that much football? That would mean practically putting your life on hold for weeks. Now, I'm sure you wouldn't mind if I could guarantee your country going through. I mean, making history. But I can't guarantee that. I can't guarantee that you will experience Roger Milla dancing with a flag in Italy, the great Senegalese side dethroned in France, see Morocco take out Ronaldo. Shoo! They may not even go the whole way, but man, imagine if they do. Just imagine if we do. One of us do. Because you know what? There's 10 of us now. 10 African countries in the World Cup for the first time. Jeez! I honestly don't care which one of us does it. My mum is from Ghana, my dad is from Sierra Leone, but my heart, that's African. I just want to see African football light up the global stage. That's why I'm watching every single game for 39 days. Girls' nights, man them nights, none of that matters. History doesn't tell you when it's going to happen, but I'm here to tell you where it may happen. SuperSport only on DSTV and GoTV. The most accessible World Cup ever. So, everything else you thought you were going to be doing from 11th of June, it can wait.
There it is. As is tradition on your World of Champions, we bring you all the biggest and best football spectacles across the globe. They don't come bigger than the FIFA World Cup taking place between June and July in the United States, Mexico, as well as Canada. And as is always the case, the World of Champions will have coverage of that tournament from start to finish. And gentlemen, I did just mention that for Hugo Ekitike, unfortunately, he's not going to be at said World Cup after what happened last night. And again, when we were watching it, Sean Bartlett, it looked sort of inconspicuous. Yeah. But unfortunately, the biggest fears, as far as Liverpool are concerned, have been confirmed.
Yeah, it's just ironic you come to me because it actually happened to me in 2002. AFCON 2002 in Mali. First game, I snapped my Achilles and I missed the World Cup in 2002, having been part of the whole campaign. So, as a player, it's probably the biggest disappointment in your international career because you're looking forward to the World Cup, and that's why even now, up to the World Cup itself, I'm sure a few things will happen. And exactly what you saw there as well, the same thing happened with me. There was nobody around me, and you just feel the snap, and I thought somebody kicked me from behind. And that's what happened with Ekitike as well. You can see there's nobody making contact, and he tried attempt to go to the ball, and it's just one of those things. And even at the stage of the game, it's not like you can say he's cold, he hasn't warmed up. It's during a match, and it's one of those freak accidents. Very unfortunate, but he's going to need all the support, mental support and psychological, obviously, as far as getting back with the rehab and just staying positive. I think that's the key to this injury.
A big blow, not only for the individual then, Stiga, but for the football club and the national team as well. Because if you look at Liverpool, they lost Isak. Big money, lost him early in the season for a long time. Immediately comes back. They now lose another one of their big money signings. He has been the most productive of Liverpool's forwards this season.
Yeah, with 16 goals in all competitions, he's hit the floor running. Isak was the big buy for Liverpool, but Ekitike turned out to be the best buy, value for money. He hit the floor running. It's just so unfortunate for the player. But I think the only positive you can take from that is that he's still a young man. But unfortunately, in this game of ours, guys, nothing is guaranteed. In 4 years' time, in the following World Cup, nothing is guaranteed, you know. So it's very difficult to accept.
Yep.
I can only imagine what he's going through. But both club and country will be less effective without this young man that exploded. And certainly, I think it was his breakthrough season in terms of announcing himself to the world.
Yeah, it certainly was. And speaking of the world, of course, all eyes are going to be on the FIFA World Cup. And we're just, about 2 months away, if not less than that, Bongs?
Yeah, it is very close. And certainly an exciting competition to look forward to as a player. I think, you know, every international player, every player wants to be a part of a spectacle that is as big as the World Cup, especially if you're privileged enough to sort of play in the opening game. I think that's a truly, truly unique feeling. And, you know, as South Africans, we get to experience that once again. And, you know, my heart breaks for players that don't really make it. But unfortunately, the way football is set up, it does create an opportunity for another player to obviously then step up and perhaps have the opportunity. So many times, even in my career, you get an opportunity because unfortunately someone else is not available for the certain competition. So we wish him all the best. You know, Ekitike, it's a tough injury.
Yeah.
It's a long road, a lonely road. And, you know, may he come back stronger and certainly show us all that he can do in the Premier League.
Yeah, we certainly wish him all the best as he recovers from what is going to be a lengthy injury. But as mentioned, the big storyline, of course, is that, yes, according to Idris Alba himself, SuperSport will be showing you each and every game at the FIFA World Cup 2026 across all our platforms. Each and every game will be covered, will be live, and of course, there'll be plenty of wonderful analysis coming from our wonderful team that is going to be compiled all the way through June and indeed July. It's your World of Champions for a reason, and we'll give you all those reasons once that World Cup does start. For now, though, we turn our attention to Arsenal up against Sporting. It's the second leg of the UEFA Champions League quarterfinals. And I did mention as well, Stiga, that the lead is slender from an Arsenal point of view. But the one thing that maybe in Europe they're doing much better than they are doing over in the Premier League is that they've been professional pretty much in every single game they've played up to this point.
Well, they've been awesome. If they do progress, it'll be the second semi-final back-to-back for Arsenal. So that just shows you that there's a lot of questions around how Arteta has done with this Arsenal side and should have been more patient. But I think this is evidence of Arteta taking Arsenal to the next level. There's consistency. They're playing at the highest level. They've taken a lead into this second leg of the quarterfinals, you know. So I think he's answered all the questions. The one thing is obviously getting that championship. But people are so fixated on the English Premiership, and Arsenal have a relatively, I say this with respect, easier road to the final of the Champions League.
That is quite an interesting take there. Bongani, what do you think?
I mean, it's very difficult. I mean, not too long ago, obviously, they were in the running for 4 competitions.
Yeah.
And obviously now it's down to 2. And even that is, you know, it's in the balance. And it's a very difficult a thing to overcome, especially if you've had a history of not necessarily crossing the line and that narrative. We spoke about early on in the season. Now we're here. So now, you know, and to be fair, Kalu mentioned the same thing. It's like, yeah, it's great now, but let's see where you are in March, April. And they're still within a really, really good position, you know, in the Premier League and here. And you just wonder if tonight does not go well, you know, where does it leave the players mentally for what's left to do in the Premier League? Because the one thing, you know, City have seasoned campaigners when it comes to this part of the season in terms of knowing what to do going forward. But yeah, it's a beautiful game to watch, and I think Sporting might have a slight advantage mentally coming into this game, even though they're playing away from home.
John?
Yeah, I think you know, Arsenal is a team that we enjoy watching, but like you've indicated, they have been more productive as far as the results in the European competition, and they're hoping obviously to continue that tonight. I think the fact that they're out of 2 competitions already, it gives them extra incentive to obviously do well. They've stumbled on the weekend in the Premier League. Can they bounce back from that disappointment and focus on this particular game? Because that's the easiest thing about football. It gives you another opportunity, and this opportunity is tonight against Sporting. They do hold a slight edge with the 1-0 lead from the first leg. And like Stiga said, you know, it's opportunity for second season running to get to the semi-finals. So it's massive incentives for these players, and every professional player, club level, this is where you want to compete and you want to be in the final and win finals.
Kai Havertz on the score sheet in that first leg last week. A 10th victory in 11 UEFA Champions League matches for Arsenal. Such, then, is the reason why they will feel extremely confident, particularly at home. Speaking of home comforts, then, what about away troubles for Sporting? Away from home, they have not been anywhere near the level that is required.
Yeah, I mean, the record doesn't necessarily... It's not for great viewing if you're Sporting, but I think the win here for Sporting is just the incredible position they put themselves in. I think we didn't give them much of a chance when we started with all 36 teams, and they've gone about their business very quietly within sort of the league phase and obviously the knockout phases as well. I mean, incredible turnaround, that they would have pulled against Bodo Glimt. I think that's when they showed what they can really do at this level. Domestically, they play with really good intensity, a lot of creativity, a lot of goals. Suarez has been fantastic for them. That front four that they have, any one of them can score at any time. Katamo is a difficult man to handle in the box. 1v1, absolute nightmare. So, whoever Arsenal have on that side, whether it be Ben White, Mosquera, or Hincapié, whoever, you're going to have a busy night. So with all that said, I still think, I somehow feel Sporting will make it today.
Be careful, Bongani.
Somehow. I don't know.
Be careful.
I don't know. It just feels like one of those days. It's a strange one. I know it's a strange thing to say.
You're flying too close to the sun after saying that Atleti were going to be winning this UEFA Champions League. They're in the semi-finals. He feels it could very well be an evening for Sporting. 1 win in their last 8 away matches in the UEFA Champions League, losing 5 of those against English opposition. They're winless in 10 visits to England are Sporting. Despite all of that, Bongani feels could very well be a Portuguese evening tonight. We'll see if that does indeed play itself out. At the very same time, of course, over in Munich, we've got Bayern up against Real Madrid for a 30th time, a record in the UEFA Champions League. No two sides have met as many as these two outings. So then, Stiga, if you take us back to the first leg, what is it that has Bayern in this position of a 2-1 advantage?
Well, it's a brave Bayern, a Bayern that never changed their identity, even though they played away. I think that they acquitted themselves extremely well. I think in the second half, a bit of fatigue set in because they played at a very high intensity for a very long time. And then obviously Real Madrid come in with the depth and the quality they have. The introduction of Jude Bellingham, even Diaz coming on, really changed it for them. They managed to get, which will be, if they do progress, this is Real Madrid, an all-important goal at home to make the tie not too far away from them. And I think Bayern Munich, they played with confidence. I think it exudes from the coach, not only his dapper his energy, his calmness and everything is transcending onto the team. And I think they're coming out here at home feeling that they have the quality to go through, but they're up against the Champions League champs, Real Madrid. This is what they do. When it matters most, they come to the party. We'll look at the starting lineup a bit later, and I'm sure Jude Bellingham will be on that because I think he's been a cog that they've been missing for a while now.
If you look at Bayern at home this season, played 5-1-5. In fact, at home in the UEFA Champions League, they are nearly peerless. However, if there is a side that has shown historically that they can go to the Munich arena and get a result, it's Real Madrid.
Yeah, they usually season campaigners, isn't it? So you can never count them out. There's a narrow margin also. I think that's probably the one disappointment from Company and his players from the first leg. They had so many opportunities to get a third and a fourth to make it a little bit easier for the return leg. So I think when it comes to this particular match, they will have a little bit of confidence, obviously, having won the first leg, the first in 10 games against Madrid. So going back home, having the support of the home fans, I do also believe home fans can also add a bit of pressure because they expect a lot when you play at home. But it's a Real Madrid team that's full of quality. And like I always say, there's no expectancy of winning games. They have to.
Yeah.
The people don't expect them because they're the Galacticos, the big names, big club of Champions League, and all these players need to turn up.
Yeah, turn up. That is exactly what Real Madrid have been doing throughout the course of history in this competition. And as such, even with a 2-1 deficit from the first leg, there'll be plenty of confidence that Los Blancos can overturn that as they visit Germany once again. So then it is the 15-time champions visiting the 6-time winners of the UEFA Champions League. Historically, small margins between these two sides. Is that going to be the case as well this evening?
Arsenal returned to the Emirates on the brink of something special, but with just enough uncertainty to keep this Champions League quarter-final finally poised. A 1-0 win in Lisbon has given Mikel Arteta's side the edge heading into the second leg against Sporting, with Kai Havertz's late strike sealing what was their 10th victory in 11 European matches this season. On paper, the Gunners are in control, and history strongly favours them. They have progressed from 19 of their last 22-legged ties in Europe after winning the first leg away from home, while their record against Portuguese opposition, particularly at the Arsenal Stadium, adds further confidence. But momentum tells a different story. Arsenal's domestic form has dipped at the worst possible time. A 2-1 defeat to Bournemouth last weekend marked their third loss in 4 matches across all competitions, raising questions about fatigue and consistency as the season reaches its defining stretch. Defensively, the Gunners have been outstanding at home, keeping clean sheets in 16 of their last 22 European games at the Arsenal Stadium. Another here would all but secure their place in back-to-back semi-finals for the first time in their history. Sporting, though, arrive with belief. The Portuguese side may trail in the tie, but they've shown resilience before, notably overturning a 3-goal deficit in the previous round. They also come into this clash on the back of 3 straight league wins, carrying momentum that Arsenal currently lack. There's also a sense of unfinished business. Sporting knocked Arsenal out of the Europa League just 2 seasons ago, and while they've never beaten the Gunners in normal time in European competition, they have proven capable of causing problems. For Arsenal, the equation is simple. Control the game, rediscover their attacking rhythm, and avoid giving Sporting a foothold. For the visitors, it's about chasing history and capitalizing on any fragility in an Arsenal side that suddenly looks vulnerable.
The head-to-head record between these two sides, not too much to talk about in terms of historical meetings, but it's a 10th UEFA Champions League quarter-final between English and Portuguese outfits. England has won each and every one of the previous 9. Bongani, coming back to you because you felt that Sporting are going to do a job tonight.
Nah, I mean, no, you fly close to the sun. I just feel they really have a realistic chance. Yeah.
Yeah.
As much as obviously there is a little bit of a gap, especially when you get to this part of the competition. You know, the level that Arsenal find themselves under, and the pressure, rather. It just, but for, I think, so if you look at Sporting, their front four, as much as they've been so good, the past 2-3 games, none of them have been on the score sheet, funny enough. Even in international break, you know, Suarez hasn't hit the back of the net. So I'd like to think that, you know, amongst those players, it's not necessarily a drop of sort of self-belief or sort of lack of sharpness or whatever it is, but there'll be a serious hunger to sort of, you know, get back to what they know they can produce and what they're used to producing. And knowing that this is a, you know, an all or nothing type of football fixture, you know, that'll give them a serious edge that Arsenal will have to deal with. And Arsenal's strengths really rely on them, you know, protecting games and staying at 0-0 for as long as they can, not necessarily, you know, relying on their front players to go out and outscore teams, you know, in that type of format. As much as they have the quality to obviously, you know, get the one goal, the odd goal here and there, but where their season has been sort of built on is that stability of just being hard to beat, hard to get goals from, and all of that sort of rigidity. So let's see whether they can do it one more time, and if they can, there'll be a lot of people that'll be quiet today.
Okay, let's quickly then try and reveal exactly what Mikel Arteta has done with his starting lineup. Again, a reminder that Arsenal were beaten by Bournemouth in the Premier League over the weekend, and while they are seemingly faltering in trying to win the Premier League title, they've done a fantastic job on the continent. A number of changes then, Coach Sean, that I have noted, and most of them are defensively. Hincapie is in there, Mosquera is in there as well, as is the introduction of Eberechi Eze.
Yeah, obviously Martinelli was influential in the first leg coming off the bench and setting up Kai Havertz, so he's also in that starting 11. I think those two players for me, Martinelli and Eze, can make a massive difference when it comes to the attack and play. They have been lacking, obviously, as far as scoring goals and creativity. If you look at The one win they got was the narrow win against Sporting in the last 4 games. That's the only win. 3 losses they had. So, and 2 of those they didn't score a goal. So I think tonight they need to be on the front foot again. Very similar to Liverpool, but on the flip side, on the other hand, they need to obviously get that early goal. That's the important thing in order to ease the pressure a bit.
For Sporting, they had a league game against Estrela over the weekend, a 1-0 win, a goal scored by Bragança, who is not starting today. Instead, Morita and Inacio in the starting lineup. Stiga.
Yes, and captain is back, Yulman. I think that'll be solid for and give them all the confidence they need. It's a Sporting side that acquitted themselves extremely well. They conceded with a late, very, very late goal, and I can see why Bongani is actually backing them, because they were solid. There wasn't much difference in terms of stats. I think Arsenal just edged them with 56% possession, you know, so they held their own. They are at home, but were not overawed by Arsenal, you know, so they're really a solid outfit. Yes, they have been shooting blanks in front of goal. Even former Barcelona player Trincao, he's very influential. He's been very quiet, but it's the stage is set for them to mount a massive, massive upset.
Massive upset. And again, this is the second time now this evening we're hearing this. First it was from Bongani, now Stiga is planting some seeds as well. So then let's take this opportunity to head out to the Arsenal Stadium in London, because pitch side is Julia Stewart with the latest for us ahead of kickoff. Jules, wonderful to see you once again. I want to start with where this Arsenal side is at the moment. We saw over the weekend fans leaving a little early in that defeat against Bournemouth. Is that maybe the first signs of a bit of a disconnect between fans and club ahead of this really important and decisive stage of the season?
Hello Lumwazi, hello Africa. Welcome to the Arsenal Stadium for what, as you mentioned, has been a decisive stage of the season. 5 of the most important days in Arsenal season, in fact, tonight and then the big one on Sunday. Their hopes of a trophy could all be over come 6:30 on Sunday night. So really, really big. I don't think that can be overestimated. The fan energy that you talked about against Bournemouth was really big, because before the game, Mikel Arteta had told everyone, bring your lunch, come to the Emirates, we'll all be together. Everyone knew the importance of that game. The longer the game went on, the more frustrated the fans became. And I think there is a big nervousness, a desperation from the fans to finally end this wait for a league trophy in that occasion. And the longer the team, you know, were not playing to their standards, the longer the team struggled to create, the more frustrated the fans became. And I think they are feeding off each other, the fans off the team and the team off the fans as well. They booed the team at full time here after that defeat to Bournemouth, and there is a lot of nerves among the Arsenal fans, also frustration. There's a real desperation to win a trophy, and I think that's what you're seeing and what you're hearing from the fans. But for the Arsenal team themselves, there is also that feeling that the nervousness, the playing not to lose rather than going all out to win and exert their dominance. So what role will the fans play tonight? I think the longer it goes on, and some members of Sporting have mentioned this already, the longer it goes on, the more anxious they become, the more the crowd gets on their back, and that could play in Sporting's favour. They are not the team that are under pressure, and they know that.
Yeah, in Europe, things have been much more in control from an Arsenal point of view. And if we go back to that first leg last week then, Jules, it took what many have called a masterstroke off the bench in bringing Martinelli on and providing Kai Havertz, who yet again in the Champions League finds himself on the score sheet for Arsenal Football Club.
Yeluwazi, it's getting really loud here. I just struggled to hear that question a little bit, but I know you're talking about the first leg, which Sporting was so impressive in. Remember, this is the first time in the Champions League era that they've been in the quarterfinal stage, so they are looking to make history themselves, and they were impressive. Araujo, for example, was one of the standout ones in that game, denied only by David Raya and his man of the match performance on that occasion. But Arsenal found a way, as they have done all season in the Champions League, to keep a clean sheet, a tournament high 7 clean sheets, of course, and then Gabriel Martinelli, whose reward for that creativity is a place in the starting 11 tonight, finding Kai Havertz, and Havertz finding that blow in the first leg. So 1-0 Arsenal, and they had to wait until injury time to get that goal, and they come here with the lead. It's a very narrow one, but they are hoping to make semi-finals in back-to-back Champions League seasons for the first time ever, so that bit of history awaits them. Sporting also hoping to go to the semi-finals. That bit of history beckons for them. Both know that Atletico Madrid is the team that they'll be facing.
Yeah, lots for us to look forward to. And would you understand that there has been some talk about the injury concerns from an Arsenal perspective, not only for tonight, but of course for that big tie against Manchester City that lies ahead over the weekend? Perhaps you could just highlight some of the team news then from an Arsenal perspective for us.
Yeah, I think the big one was Declan Rice, and what would that mean for midfield? Lots of talk about Christian Norgard perhaps having to cover in midfield tonight. Rice played against Bournemouth, but we believe he soldiered on. He was injured. It turns out that he is fit enough to feature tonight, and in fact, he captains the side. Speaking of captains, Patrick Vieira, I can just see him out of the corner of my eye. I wonder what he makes of this Arsenal team and the state that they are currently in. Former Arsenal captain, of course. So Rice is fit enough to captain the side. There were concerns about Bukayo Saka, not featured tonight due to that Achilles injury, not in the matchday squad. Jurrien Timber with the groin injury has been missing since the international break. He's not here tonight. Ben White hasn't been great at right back, so he was a big miss. It's no surprise then that Christian Mosquera does start in that right back position. Ben White made a couple of high-profile mistakes in the last couple of games. And then also for Arsenal, Martin Odegaard with that knee injury that saw him miss out at the weekend. He was injured in Lisbon, so too was Ricardo Calafiori. There is no Odegaard in the matchday squad today, which is why Declan Rice captains the side. The other change, of course, sees Ebbs Eze come into that 10 position, wondering if he can perhaps offer something creatively, having scored his first Champions League goal last time out here against Leverkusen. And then Martinelli, as mentioned, comes in place of Trossard, that left-back slot filled by Piero Nkapie. So no Saka and no Odegaard from an Arsenal perspective.
Let's quickly turn our attention then to Sporting. We've already touched on here in studio just how, I guess, poor they have been in Europe away from home this season, particularly in England as well down the years. Bongani feels it could very well be their night this evening. As far as their prospects are concerned, where do you stand?
Well, I think for Sporting, they will remember that in 2023, they played Arsenal here in the round of 16 Europa League. It was 3 years ago on this very ground, and they went through on penalties. That will be driving them. Another driving factor will be the fact that all the pressure, as we heard Luis Suarez say to the media this week, is on the home side. And the other thing, I think the third factor that will be big for them is the fact that they did do so well last time out and were just got that sucker punch late on. There is the ability to score goals. They had their opportunities. Can they take them and be a little bit more clinical? Because they do get another go in the 90 minutes. And then one more chance for them, another, cause for belief, which I think Stiga mentioned, that is the return of their captain. Morten Ullman is back from suspension and joins Hidemasa Morita in the central midfield. That's a huge, huge plus for them. They obviously don't have Ivan Fresneda because he was injured on Saturday and came off half-time in the Primera Liga game. I think you guys mentioned that already, but they do have Eduardo Quaresma at right back, and he is a more than able deputy. Sporting have done well. We saw what they managed to do in the last round. They're making history by being here for the first time in the Champions League era. I know that they don't have any wins in 10 visits on English soil. I know that Arsenal have 7 clean sheets, but Sporting will arrive here knowing one goal is not a big mountain to climb. It's a big one on this stadium, perhaps. It's a big one given they couldn't find a way past David Raya last time, but they will come here full of belief.
Jules, before I let you go, I'm glad you mentioned David Raya because he was one of the standout performers in between the sticks in the first leg. Is it fair to say that Arsenal getting to this stage of the competition has been based on an extremely strong home defense?
Yeah, unbelievable. They've only conceded, 5 goals in the tournament so far in total. That is a remarkable record. Actually, it's 3 goals, sorry, in 5 games at home in the tournament. So they have been defensively very strong. They've been tough to break down. David Raya doing his best Spider-Man Rabobi impression there in the last game. People are saying that if Arsenal do go on to win the Premier League title, he'll certainly be a shout for player of the season contender. He was superb. He was the difference, really. And the problem for Arsenal is they've been so strong defensively. They lean so much on their defense that most of their dangerous passes, most of the risks they take is in that back line. And I think everyone associated with Arsenal would like to see those risky passes being played a little further forward up the pitch as they aim to create, because creatively they have struggled.
Jules, once again, thank you very much for your insights. Pitch side, she is at the Arsenal Stadium. Arsenal looking to finish the job they started in Lisbon against Sporting. So then we've heard from Jules, we've heard from the gentleman here in studio. Let's find out from Mikel Arteta himself where his mind is ahead of kickoff.
Mikel, there's a real sense of anticipation and excitement for this game tonight. Just how big and important is it?
Yeah, I mean, you're talking about the possibility to be in the semi-finals of the Champions League, so it doesn't get much better than that. We know the opportunity that we had ahead, so very excited for the game.
What needs to be different from Saturday?
First of all, more efficient in both boxes than we were, and especially a lot of the things that we've done so well for 9 months, repeat them here and we'll be fine.
There are 3 changes from that team. Both fullbacks have changed and Eze starts the match today. What are you hoping that they bring?
Well, everybody's been really important, different qualities, characteristics, freshness as well, because we played so many games as well. So that's the team to start, and then we have the finishers that we know the impact that they had all season.
Declan Rice missed training yesterday, so I think everyone's very surprised but also very happy to see that he starts the game. How much has he pushed himself to be available for today?
That's Declan. And to be fair, all the boys, they are desperate to play these kind of scenarios. He didn't want to miss it, and he's fit and available.
After yesterday, we know you have the fire. Are we going to see the fire from your players?
100%, I'm convinced about that.
There's no getting away, though. Here at the Emirates, sometimes you do sense a bit of anxiety in the stadium. Just how much of an influence can the Emirates crowd have?
We have to give them, and every time we give them a little bit, it will light up, and we will create the atmosphere, the energy that helps the most the team. I'm convinced about that.
Thanks, Mikel. Good luck tonight.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, Arsenal Football Club have lost 3 of their last 4 matches across all competitions, and the majority of those have been domestic, haven't they? So, as far as the Champions League is concerned, they're looking, as Stiga has mentioned already, to feature in the semi-finals for a 2nd season running. And let's remind you then of exactly what did transpire when they travelled to Lisbon last week. And we've touched on it already, Bongs, but it was, for the majority of this game, really tight, wasn't it? We weren't quite sure which direction this game was going to go up until late on. Gabriel Martinelli comes on, Kai Havertz, score sheet.
Yeah, some magic late on in the game. I mean, you know, Havertz has the knack of obviously getting these massive goals, and that was absolute class that was produced, you know, when it was needed most. You can obviously see, you know, there's a lot of players within that area, a lot of movement that Arsenal would have had. You know, one player coming short, one coming long, running into spaces that have been created due to the movement. And then the execution of the timing of the ball and the finish is absolute brilliance. And that's Arsenal at their best. Being hard to beat and then just getting the odd goal, whether it be set piece or brilliance like that, they do have that in the locker.
Yeah, this is from last season when Arsenal visited Lisbon again in the Champions League and won handsomely by 5-1. They are unbeaten against the Portuguese outfit in 6, won 3, drawn 3 as well.
And they'll go into this encounter with that confidence,
yeah,
knowing that they've overcome and beaten a side. And most of the team that played in this match is part of the squad besides your Saka that's injured and Havertz that's on the bench that were on the score sheet, you know, and he's going to be such a massive miss for us.